we can be with you today. And thank you for joining us on this extraordinary event where we are dealing with the launch of Wholeness Through Wonder and using therapeutic art and play to build resilience. So it's a quite a journey that happened, and I just want to, before we start, read a wonderful scripture to you from Psalms 139. And in the New International Version, we read that I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. And then I read in the Message translation, and I read from verse 16, and it actually elaborates on this message from the Psalms. Oh yes, you shaped me first inside, then out. You formed me in my mother's womb. I thank you, high God. You're breathtaking, body and soul. I am marvelously made. I worship in adoration. What a creation. You know me inside and out. You know every bone in my body. You know exactly how I was made bit by bit, how I was sculpted from nothing into something. Like an open book, you watched me grow from conception to birth. All the stages of my life were spread out before you. The days of my life are prepared before I'd even lived one day. Isn't that a wonderful description? Now, I want to welcome Dr. Barbara Louw with us today. She's the author of this book, and I know that this was a long time in the making, where we're dealing with wholeness through wonder. And I know she's been mulled around this. Now, Dr. Barbara, tell us about a bit about this book.
Well, I think the first part I must acknowledge that this is a heart book. I wrote from my heart. You will see that it's not a strictly academic book like much of the stuff that I've written up to now, because I left out all the heavy references and quotations and spoke from my heart. And then I must acknowledge Wynand Jr. and Leonie, because they are the two miraculous kids that God gave me and from whom I learned so much. I believe that their creativity was something that amazed me from the beginning. You know, you buy expensive toys and they can play longer with a package than with the expensive toy. Um, with them, I learned that a good dose of boredom is absolutely acceptable because it will trigger creativity. So, without the kids, I don't think I would have been able to understand that art and play is normal human reactions.
Mhm.
And that was what I wanted to write about. And that's why I say, let's talk about using therapeutic art and play to build resilience. Most of the people in our country, in South Africa, we have to say they don't have the resources to go from therapist to therapist and from counseling session to counseling session. But we see that they turn out these wonderful, well rounded, creative people because they live. And life is about being creative. In this book, I wanted to portray the message that play as a normal human activity is therapeutic in the sense that it helps you to heal, it helps you to grow, it helps you to naturally flow into your gifting, into your talents. I remember I went on this course when Raynand was about 5 years old, and it was about art therapy. Yo, that evening when he was drawing a family for me, all the people in the picture doesn't have hands. And I that night I didn't sleep well. The next morning I came to you and I told you, don't I think there's something wrong with our child? Why? No. His little man doesn't have hands and feet. And the answer you gave me was to talk to the child. Ask him why don't they have hands and feet. I went to him and I said, Fernand, why doesn't your little man have hands and feet? And he put his little arms in his side and he said, Mommy, I can't draw hands and feet. Today he's a PhD in chemistry and he can draw those intricate molecule structures. So you could see, actually, if you opened your eyes of wisdom at the age of 5, that was the direction he was going. So nothing really bad happened to him that we could read from the pictures. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book, because yes, there's trauma survivors that need to express what they can't express in words, in pictures. And then I also want to acknowledge that there's the most wonderful art and play therapists. Yeah, but there's a lot of nonsense in the market. People that will cure spiritual and psychological and all kinds of ailments that's got nothing to do with nothing if they don't feed them all natural products. And you know what I want to say is, let's bring balance back. Let's bring a patch of normality where people can enjoy
And let common
their
sense
lives.
prevail.
Let common sense prevail. So, on the one hand, I absolutely respect therapists that's well trained, that's got a sound academic and research background. You will find in my book that I named the 5 or 6 people that I respect most, because that is the people that I learned from a lot.
And that's now worldwide.
That is worldwide. That's in my book. But now I've talked the storm away. What would you like to ask me?
I just want to add that it's sad to me how many people talk more about their children as to their children. Sit down and talk to them, and they talk to other people about them and never spoke to the children. It's sad.
It's very sad, but you see, play and art opens that door.
This, yeah.
But that means you have to get up behind your study desk and go and play with the children. You have to do things alongside.
Be present.
Be present, be there. And that community, that sense of importance is something that should be nurtured, because
Yes.
at this stage, I don't think our daily lives are structured to allow anybody to play. And you know, even adults need to play. In this book, I also made a point of looking at play for children, age appropriate play for children, and play for adults, even for seniors. You know, that empty nest thing that goes and sits on some people's head, it doesn't need to be
Is
there.
it?
It's the most wonderful opportunity for lifelong hobbies. And I will get to that just now.
So, Dr. Barbara, who should read this book? Who's the book aimed at?
The first people I had in mind when I wrote the book was people who survived trauma and who are going through trauma. Um, I am working on another book, and that's a topic for another day. But I want to say medical trauma, where you know something changed your life forever. It's a medical condition. You can't think it away. You can't work it away. You can't medicate it away. You have to deal with it. And how are you going to leave a legacy? How are you going to add value to your life? Trauma survivors stand like rape victims. For many years, after court cases finished, I engaged with creative activities. And I'm not saying creative therapy, I'm saying activities where we just played and did normal things as friends around a table to help trauma survivors to find their feet, to find that little patch of normality.
I can remember one of the people said it was the first time in a very, very long time that she finished something when she finished painting the ceramic thing
Yep.
and actually completed it, and it opened a whole new dimension.
The thing is, the moment if you in that situation say, we're going to do therapy, it's got the label
Yeah.
of a problem centered label, and that's not what I wanted in that setting. The other people that would benefit from the book is educators, parents, leaders, wanting to inspire creativity in other people because I gave lists of possible activities for play as well as art. And yes, I am the proud mommy of children that play games on the internet, and the virtual games and stuff are included with the most wonderful descriptions of why it is to their advantage. That took a bit of research between the two of us and a few hours of talking with my kids. Thank you. Counselors, therapists, and human science professionals seeking innovative tools, not just a sandbox, not just a toy box, because those boxy stuff are really getting boring, because we want to look at a holistic way of dealing with life, not just with problems, with life. Artists, dreamers, and visionaries. I think you might find a few ideas that you never thought of. I found a few, and it's lying in the lounge at the moment, waiting to dry. And then anybody that's curious about what are we talking about?
Great. Now the book is covering different themes. Can you highlight a few of those themes that people will find when they're reading the book that you addressed?
I think key themes would be like healing when you intersect art, play, and resilience. We are created to be wonderfully resilient. People are so creative. You once told me, but you don't think you're creative. But if you think about a person that is working in a corporate environment that they have to juggle spreadsheets and find answers, finding answers means that you are creative. And if you can do that in a way that doesn't load stress on you, but reduces the stress, that is a therapeutic process. I remember
It's when you
once,
forget about the world, once you focus on what you're busy
yes,
doing, you forget about, the troubles and the issues.
yep, I found that doing things in the sense that you have to just change gears. One day, I was learning to play golf. And before I had went to the golf course for the group session now, I forgot the code of the safe. I couldn't remember the code to save my life. And I did not write it down because you don't write the code of the safe down, it's in your head. And I tried this and I tried that, and I couldn't phone you. And as I was on that golf course, as I hit the first ball, I remembered the code and just changing the gears. For me personally, the healing part, when I go through very traumatic things like the passing away of my father 16 years ago, for that week when we were in that last days of his very illness, I painted that huge eagle that was set free from the chains. And it was very inspiring in a way, and in a way, it set me free. So there's practical techniques that I think that we can apply. It doesn't need to cost the arm and a leg. One day we need to talk about the arm and a leg thing because that's also linked to art. Did you know that?
Well, we've read it early on how we were created, so it's
No,
definitely
no, 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 no. Let me tell you the story quickly. Years ago, if you had a painting made, you paid per body part that was painted. So if your budget was a little bit small, you
you
could
put it on one side.
yeah, you could
Oh,
minimize
mm,
what was painted, like just your um, head,
mm.
because that's in your budget. So it cost you an arm and a leg.
Okay.
The other thing that I addressed in the book that I think is very special is how faith and spirituality deepens in the journey. And I didn't go into the significance of colors and so on because I wanted to use a holistic, spontaneous approach. If we allow people to express themselves spontaneously, it is wonderful to see that the colors they've got preferences for goes with their natural appearance. It goes with their skin, with their hair. It goes with their personalities. And if we are liberal enough to say, you can be whatever you are, enjoy yourself, I think that makes it wonderful.
Now, for the people out there that's listening, we will talk just in a while. We will talk a bit more about the holistic approach that Dr. Barbara is talking about because it's different to the normal one. But before that, why would people love the book? I know when I read through it and checked it and did all the work on it, I thought
All the work, my dear.
a very, very, very different approach to the norm.
Okay. Thank you, Raymond, for doing the editing and putting the T's and the full stops where they should be and taking out all my double spacings. Apparently, that's my biggest editing problem. Um, but in 20 years, we will get there. Okay. The book is special because it's a heartfelt storytelling from a personal level. It's not just an academic book. I also think the book is special because it's actionable insights and exercises that you can immediately go and do. Um, it's uplifting and empowering perspective. It's not telling you what you can do and what you can't do. However, I try to create a beautiful, compassionate, creative connection with the reader. How and in this, what I want to say is, however, art is not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And there's a section in the book where I tell you, if what I'm telling you today is not for you, it's okay. And if you need to seek help, that is very, very important. Your wellness and your wholeness is ultimately important.
Mm.
It doesn't mean that we can tell everybody you have to do this form or that form. And that's where the wonderful thing is. There's some people that won't like art. They don't like the sitting still and expressing themselves in a way that somebody else can criticize them or put some explanation on the work that they don't want. They would rather play. So playing, the competition, the skill, the outdoors, the indoors, the in South Africa, the sunshine this time of the year, that's what attracts them. And my message is perfect. Enjoy it.
Yes, absolutely. I see on one of the highlights of the book, you've written that the Wholeness Through Wonder is not just a book, it's a transformative guide to embrace the extraordinary within the ordinary. Um, so start your journey to wellness, creativity, and resilience today. So that's what we want to encourage you, and we will tell you later on a little bit more where to get this. Going back to holistic, tell us more about your holistic because your holistic has got a W in and all the editing software. I must always tell them no, keep it, don't change it. Why did you go that route? The
Vance.
same with the wholeness.
The wholeness and the holistic is very important. May I quickly interrupt myself and say, Johanna, thank you for joining us. I am sorry that the connection in the Kalahari is unstable. What we will do is we will record the session and make it available afterwards. I hope you enjoy your holiday. Back to the book. Holistic. The whole thing of holistic started when I did my doctoral studies on wellness, on wholeness, on healing. Wellness, wholeness, healing, all those concepts come from the idea of one unbroken unit. Whole. You are whole, you are healed, and in many languages it's got the same core or origin. And holistic for me is not in the holistic paradigm that was coined by General Jan Smuts that spoke about holism with a H. No, I'm talking about holistic from the unit of being healed, of being well. So the W in front of wholeness is absolutely correct. I don't know why the dictionary doesn't understand that after 13 years. And a holistic approach is a holistic approach to life. Because the moment when we talk about being whole, being well, we think we need to be perfect. Life is not perfect.
No.
We've got suffering. We've got people who are stricken by poverty, by illness, by all kinds of challenges. But it doesn't mean that they don't have quality of life. So, for the purpose of this book, I wanted to say that wholeness is there through the wonder of being you, wonder of what God created. And I think that scripture that you read from Psalms 139 is absolutely in my heart when I look at combining art, play, psychology, faith to bring all the dimensions into one whole. And it's not like fruit from a different tree. No, it's one. And that's the way I believe we are created.
So if we look at the book, what are some of the highlighted or topics you want to highlight that it covers? I know there's quite a number of them, but um, there might be some important ones, and it's not 100 at this point, but it could be.
No, it cannot be 100, please. No, I think my heart felt that it should be a practical tool with techniques so that you can go and look, is this a possibility? Can I do this? And no, I could not address everything as far as practicality is concerned in the book. For that reason, I partnered with Aquila Training and I wrote a 4-hour workshop to address the other issues like folk play and the historical perspective in that course. That would be then for the people who are working more in depth on play and art, and I think that is very important. I gave practical examples, as I said, for the art and the play, but the book must be personal and relatable. I tried to make it like telling a story. The focus is on overcoming trauma. And if I can just define trauma in this context, is to say the stuff that hurt. Trauma means to be wounded. It does not mean that the light and the blue pencil is not working together. No, it is really the life issues that can, if you leave it, wring life out of your bones. So if I can sit and say, if this book can empower people through creativity to be more them,
Mm.
I've been so successful. I remember the first time when I taught you to draw a cartoon. That thing was you. It was like a you picture. Um, that is what I want to achieve. As I said, it's not an academic work. If somebody really want to have the academic references, do the course, all those things are in there. And I know that my creativity comes from God. It's a gift from God. And for me, healing and creativity is deeply spiritual. And I wanted to link the spiritual and emotional depths of that without preaching. Preaching is boring. Colors and so on is not so boring. Because people are not boring. They are wonderful, creative, and they can do wonderful things. And in saying that, I do believe in creativity as far as cultural sensitivity is concerned. When I looked into the folk art, oh, there's the most beautiful, colorful things. Um, your Latin American nations, they put colors together that I thought, yeah, I didn't think it would work together unless it's in nature. And our African people,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
When we
yeah.
traveled up to Africa with the Defence Force in 2007, we've seen colorful things in areas that's really going through hard times, but the people were still trying to dress beautifully and make beautiful, colorful clothes despite their circumstances and their challenges.
You know, there I'd like to highlight the example of the ladies in Kinshasa. At the time when we were in Kinshasa, it was raining and it was dirty and it was miserable, and they look after you so nicely. There's always a guy with a big gun looking after you. But if you looked at the ladies in the street, their hairdress and their clothes and their little handbags always matched in the most beautiful materials. It's raining and it's dark, and you get this bright yellow figure, and it's as though she just walks with a zest for life, and that was so
And
special.
we saw the same in the markets, when one
Yes,
went there the one day, absolutely. And it was the same in Malaysia when we visited there and went to those um, areas where they took us. It was also amazing the amount of things people can do and creative things people can do.
I still have a picture that was created from butterfly wings.
Mm.
It's one of my treasured
So that was
memories.
in Central African Republic
Yes,
where we got that.
but but when we talk about cultural sensitivity, I want to talk about age sensitivity.
Mm.
In this book, I try to acknowledge art for children, age appropriate art for children, and also the activities for older people. Um, you know, Often we have children and we rush around to raise our children, and all of a sudden you sit with an empty nest. What then? That is the opportunity for wonderful things, to start new things, to try new things. And you won't like everything that you try, or you might just like everything you try. The young physiotherapist that helps me tells me her mom is a cooking expert. She's going into culinary stuff, and now that she's retired, she's baking and doing things that she never had time for. And in saying that, I also want to say exploring the wonder of this new social connections.
Mm.
At the beginning of the year, we joined the bonsai club, and I thought I was going to write stuff about bonsai in this book. I even spoke to the management team there, and I said, I'm going to do this. But there were so many other things to write. So the bonsai book is going to be one of the next ones, because there's just too much. Because social hobbies, Hobbies that you can do with groups. That's not problem focused. That's wonder focused. That is creative. Connects you with people that you might never otherwise have connected with. In other words, instead of your world becoming smaller as you become older, you will wonder, where did I find the time to work? And that means it brings me to the last point, and I think I'm out of time. 1 minute. I want to encourage lifelong growth. Lifelong growth.
Thank you very much, Dr. Barbara. The last point is, what's the unique selling point of this book? Why would it sell?
The book has its own legs. So there's the electronic version, and then there's a paperback version. But what I bring, what is unique to my book, is to say that I will be available for online or face to face counseling. I've got an online booking system. If you follow my posts and so on, you will get all the information. But for the people who might struggle, who might say, I want to do this, I just don't know how, there's the opportunity to sit down and talk to me. It will be a fee for service, but it will be special for them.
Absolutely. I want to connect the different aspects. So first of all, there's going to be the book that's in the e-format that's going to launch, I think, today.
It's launched already.
So it will be on the different platforms. So watch Facebook and our social media and our websites for that. The second one is a course, a training that's different to the book, but similar. It overlaps with each other that will be online, and it will be beyond words will be the course, the name of the course. So it's more than words, not just words. And where again practical examples will be given, and that we trust a lot that we start in January with that one. We're busy building that and putting it together. And then the online booking system is available on aquilasa.co.za, and you can book make a booking whichever time slots are open and available. Thank you very much, Dr. Barbara, for talking to us today. So you've got the privilege to meet her face to face and visit her when you need help in her office, or we can do it online as well. You've got a choice. May you have a blessed day and have a blessed Christmas and drive safe wherever you go, and a wonderful new year.
Thank you.
Thank you.